Hello once again, my friends. Wonderful to see you all so soon. While we were away, you all sent me a bunch of hard-hitting questions to look over in the new letter. But before we get started there, I must address an oversight from the last episode and issue a formal apology to Sarah. I'm so sorry, Sarah, that I missed the first part of your question. You see, for those of you who don't remember, last time Sarah sent me a two-part question. The first was, how do I upload these episodes to YouTube? And the second part was the origin of my scars. And getting so excited to talk about my scars, I completely overlooked the fact that she sent me a question beforehand. So Sarah, this one is for you. I will now explain to you, in some detail, how I upload these episodes to YouTube. As you may recall, I used to tinker with cinematic records back in the day. And by that I mean I used to add more scenes onto the end of them so that the life could continue. Incidentally, the way that I would add the footage to the cinematic records is also the same way that I document everything here. The big difference is what happens afterwards. You see, when trying to put one of these onto the end of a cinematic record, it usually ends up looking something like this. I know, right? Not very pleasing to the eye, and it wouldn't make a very good YouTube video, now would it? Luckily, I have connections at the Reaper Society, and they're able to help the finished product look more like this. See? A whole lot better. And seeing as how they're Reapers, they get technology that not everybody else gets their hands on, especially in this particular era. So with one of their fancy computing machines, they're able to take what I broadcast and put it onto YouTube, so that you all can see. Now the process is a little bit more detailed than that, but I'm afraid that I can't go into any more detail because I'm sworn to secrecy by the Reaper Society. So sorry I can't continue on from there, but hopefully that answers your question at least to some extent, Sarah. And again, I'm so sorry that I missed your question from before. Hopefully that made up, and you will send me some more in the future, and hopefully I won't end up forgetting those. So now that we've addressed old business, let's move on to new business, the new letter. First off, Jake says, "Dude, that intro!" I know, right? Queen of Obscure Pairings did such an amazing job, and I know I say this over and over and over again, but I will not stop until I'm blue in the face, and I've not turned blue just yet. So I will continue to gush about the intro because I love it so much, and so far everybody else seems to love it as well. So thank you very much for your comment, Jake. I highly agree with you. Next, Yuki says, "Dear Undertaker, wonderful intro and keep up the good work. My question is, if you could turn back time, what do you wish to change? Or what would you have liked to have done differently in the past?" Well, Yuki, that's a pretty powerful question. I've made a lot of mistakes in the past. Of course, I've also gone on quite a few adventures as well. If I could change anything at all, it would probably be the way that I treated Claudia back in the day. She really was special to me, as is the entire Phantom High family, and I probably could have handled things a little bit better. But most of all, if I could have changed anything, it would have been to prevent the horrible tragedy that took Vincent and his wife away from us. I go on and on about the relationship that I had with Vincent, and we were such great friends. He treated me like a brother. He really understood me, you know? So if I could have saved him, I really wish I could go back in time and do that. But enough of getting sentimental. You know, us old folks sometimes we get like that. It's still a sensitive topic for me to talk about Vincent like that, so if I could have changed something and helped save him, I probably would have done that. But seeing as how time travel isn't possible, just yet, we'll just have to stick with living out the present. Each day is a gift after all, right? Right. Thank you very much, Yuki, for your question. I hope I was able to answer it to your liking. Next, Brenda says, "Very nice. Just one question. Did you change your lighting? It seems a little darker, or maybe it's just me eyes. Ha! Well, now that you mention it, Brenda, yes, one of my lamps did go out in the shop a while back. It ran out of oil, and I hadn't had the opportunity to replace it. So yes, things were a little bit darker last time, but hopefully I've been able to shed some light on things, if you will, and you'll be able to see things a little bit better this time. So sorry if you were obscured with the dim light and everything like that. Hopefully I was able to rectify the situation this time. If not, just let me know in the comments if it was better or worse. One way or another, we're going to get this figured out. Thank you very much, Brenda. I greatly appreciate it. Burrito Girl 13 says, "Hi Undertaker, how are you?" "Hello Burrito Girl, I'm well, and yourself?" "Splendid. I actually have a question for McRibs if he feels like saying anything. I hope that's alright." "Here there, little guy. One of your fans has a question for you." He's excited. Let's see, what is the question then? What's it like being a miniature skeleton? Anyway, I'm still loving these videos. Nice work as always. Well, it's a very interesting question, Burrito Girl. What do you say, McRibs? What's it like being a miniature skeleton? He says everything's too bloody big. And there's no bones about that. Clever little Sardini. That's why I love the little bloke so much. He's always full of laughs. Always keeping me in stitches. Get it? Stitches? No? Alright. Moving on. Queen of Obscure Pairings. Hello, Your Majesty. She writes, "Thank you for the shout out. Well, you're quite welcome. With your hard work, you deserve it. And as you've seen from some of the previous comments, everybody else seems to agree as well. That intro is pretty spot on. So thank you very much for your hard work. I'll say it again, and I'll keep saying it too. I'm not tired of it yet." So Undy. Well, that's a new one. I've been called a lot of things in my day, but never Undy. That's interesting. I like that one. So Undy, why is it that all Reapers use lawn equipment for scythes, where you seem to be the only one who has ever used an actual scythe? When all English law, well, really all law, believes all Reapers use scythes. So with that said, I have a personal headcanon. Sorry, I just got a mental picture. As well as a theory. You see, not long ago we were told Reapers are made through suicide as a form of punishment, since it is believed to be sin to take one's life. If that is the case, one would think that there must be indeed born Reapers who are awaiting the ones who took their lives, to enforce this said punishment. So with that, I think the lawn equipment scythes could be a form of punishment, as well as a social ranking symbol, to show a form of humility, maybe, and it's a lot quicker than asking for papers. Hehe. And since you have a real scythe, that would mean, if my theory is correct, you too are a born Reaper, not made through suicide. But what is the truth? Do tell. She goes on, but I want to stop right there so I can address the first question first and then talk about what happens afterwards, because I don't want to miss another question. Well, Your Majesty, that's a very interesting theory. Honestly, I can say I've never heard that one before. I might have to start using that. Next time somebody asks me why everything is the way it is, I might just have to start using that. That's pretty clever. But the way it really worked was, as I'm sure you know, way back in the day when all this first started, the main harvesting tool in the garden or the lawn was a scythe, and that was what everybody used to harvest their crops. So, in essence, what a Reaper does is he harvests souls. So that's what we had. We had the scythe to signify that we were the ultimate harvester of souls. And when I first started, yes, I had the old boring wooden stick with the sling blade that came off of it. It was already dreadful. And I used that for about 100 years or so. And then I got bored of it and decided, you know what, I'm going to modify this a little bit, and we're going to make it a little more exciting to look at. So after a little tinkering and messing around, I finally came up with a design that you all are familiar with. And I used that design for the rest of my career. Now fast forward to when other Reapers started coming around. They too were given the scythes, but all of the rookies didn't know how to bloody use them, because most of them had never handled a scythe before. So they had to be downgraded to the little practice scythes, or the little training scythes, if you will, the little miniature little things that they all carried around, and once they learned how to use that thing proper, then they were able to graduate to the larger scythes. Of course, a few of them started to complain, well, if he gets his own personal side, then I want one of my own. I want to be an individual. So, after tons of belly aching and crying, the administration finally gave in and said, alright, if you want a different side, you can have one. Because by that time, you see, harvesting had become a little bit different. There were all kinds of other tools you could use, hedge trimmers, plows, all kinds of stuff like that. So there was a bit more of a variety to choose from than just the regular, ominous-looking scythe. So that's what they started going with. And later on down the road, some of the clever ones even started coming up with scythes that hadn't even really been invented yet, at least in the realm of the humans. Though what some of them actually have to do with harvesting, I have no idea, but as long as it works for them, then I'm not going to complain at all. So that's really what it boils down to, but like I said, Your Majesty, I really like your story more. But let's continue on with the rest of the question, or the comment as the case may be. Also, I've thought of a great horror title, and I need your input. Being what you are and what you do, I would think that you would have a passion for horror flicks, or novels as well. Well, the novels maybe, but I don't know what flicking has anything to do with horror. The title is The House with One Window, and it would be a supernatural horror. It would be set in present time, as in our time, 2017. Goodness! These things reach all the way out to 2017? My goodness, and I thought I was a conqueror of time. You'll have to let me know sometime. Does everybody have flying carriages? Have we explored space yet? Tell me about it later. I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm starting to digress a little bit. Apologies for that. But the house was made back in the American Civil War era. Okay, so that's closer to around the time that we're talking about here. That's all I got. I have an idea. For one window itself would lead to some demonic wicked vortex or other. Well, you've definitely got an interesting premise there, Your Majesty. If I were to offer any sort of input at all, I would suggest that the one window take you maybe back in time, like say to the original era that the house was built, and you get to experience the world from that time, or maybe even a change of perception. You're still in your same time, you're still in the same area, but perhaps you see things as, say, a demon would, or even a Grim Reaper. Maybe it just changes your perception in general. And of course there's all kinds of horrific things that can go wrong with that. But again, that's just my little input. Take it or leave it. I look very forward to reading the novel once you get it published, Your Majesty. I cannot wait to have some more reading material. It may give me some ideas. So thank you very much for that question and comment, Your Majesty. And thank you once again for the intro. Like I said, not getting tired of telling you. Next, Brandy says, good day to you, Undertaker. Well, good day to you, Brandy. I was thinking about the cinematic records recently and wondered why the souls turn into books. I always thought that when one dies, they either go to heaven or hell. But do they turn into books and then spend eternity at a library? Or is it more the records are simply memories of the person and their actual soul is sent to their final resting place? I'm just dying to know. I see what you did there. Oh, and here's my payment. Why couldn't the toilet paper cross the road? Because he was stuck in a crack. Oh, that's naughty. That's a good one. Well, I have to say, Brandy, that you're not really wrong. You've pretty much nailed it right on the head. Just like that. The cinematic record, while when it first comes out of the soul, is indeed a soul. It's everything, the memories, the experiences, and the inner essence of a person. Once we get it to the library, or rather once a Reaper gets it to the library, I don't do that anymore, the soul is then taken out of the cinematic record, and it is sent off to judgment. It's either going to become a Reaper, or go to heaven, or to hell, or whatever the case may be. The rest of the cinematic record then goes into the book. It becomes written word, and then we keep it on the shelf. It's more of a record-keeping type thing like that, so we can go back and see what somebody has done or said, basically for a frame of reference if we need it at all. So we can go to the library, search for a person, pull it out and look through their records and see what has been done. But their soul, as you said, does go to its final resting place eventually. So honestly, you pretty much answered your own question there, Brandy. Are you a Reaper by any chance? that's neither here nor there. Thank you very much for your question. And finally, our friendly fox says, "Whoa, the intro. It even has the disclaimer thing on the note itself, like it's a letter." Right you are, my fuzzy friend. Queen of Obscure Pairings spared no detail whatsoever. She put everything in there. So see, Your Majesty, even our little furry friend over here really enjoys the intro that you made for me. So thank you very much for your question, mysterious fox person, and thank you everybody for all of your questions. I always enjoy everything that you send me, and I always enjoy addressing the questions, comments, and concerns. Oh goodness. I've gone through all this time and just realised that me ring is nowhere to be found. Well, I'm going to have to start cutting open some of the bodies to see if I can find it, because I was messing with the needle and thread earlier. So it's probably in somebody's intestine somewhere. Oh well, I'll find it later. So until we meet again, be seeing you then. Ta-ta!